Special guest today in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. Bengals center Trey Hopkins. The other ACL injury, the other reconstructed ACL. Joe Burrow, obviously, a lot of fanfare and rightfully so. Be able to play in the opener September 12th against the Minnesota Vikings is phenomenal. How about Trey Hopkins? Hurt himself in January, the last regular season game in the second half of the last game of the season. He's going to start in the opener September 12th against the Minnesota Vikings. Both of these guys were determined, bound and determined to come back from the injury. They both have immense football IQ. They both handle the ball every single snap. The Bengals are in good shape with Joe Burrow quarterback and Trey Hopkins at center. You're in the First Star Logistics studios, and it's in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And our special guest, he's in the trenches. He does a big-time job in the trenches. Bengals center Trey Hopkins. Trey, welcome. How you doing, my man?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. This is that day of the year where it's tough for a lot of guys. There's going to be hundreds of guys, that are looking to extend their NFL careers. By 4:00 this afternoon. A bunch of guys their futures will be in doubt, uncertain. Some of them, quite a few of them, will come back to practice squad opportunities, which is a good way to continue that National Football League career. Obviously, you're not in that mindset, that scenario. But what's it like? What do you think it's like for players in that situation?
Yeah, I'm not in that situation this year, but I've been in it plenty of other times, and it's definitely a stressful day. It's a day where a lot of stuff is up in the air, and you just hope and you pray that what you put on tape and what you've shown to the coaches and players that you've been around, you hope that it's enough to get you a spot, get your foot in the door. If you're a young guy, if you're a bubble guy that possibly is vying for a practice squad spot, it's a day where you kind of just see where everything falls. And you just hope the work you've put in has been enough.
You're a great example, though. Like you said, I mean, it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy path for Trey Hopkins, and man, you were bound and determined to get where you are today. I mean, you're a center that's getting Pro Bowl mentions, quite a few Pro Bowl mentions. So it's been a great run for you. What does it take to have that kind of mental fortitude to fight through people saying, not sure. No. I mean, how do you ignore all that and say, I have a goal, I'm focused, I'm getting this done?
That's exactly it. And what you said is just don't listen to anything but yourself, your goal. I mean, keep your goal at the forefront of your mind. Don't let other people's opinions, other people's vision for yourself, don't let that become bigger than your vision for yourself. So I knew that I wanted to play football. I wanted to be good at football. And even when I wasn't necessarily good at it, when I wasn't getting the snaps that I would have liked, I wasn't getting the opportunity that I might not have liked. Just don't quit. Just keep your goal in the forefront of your mind and just keep going to work every day, grinding and trying to perfect your craft and sharpen yourself.
So you've not only been through that type of adversity in getting to where you wanted to be. Then you get there and you're playing at an extremely high level, and then you have the injury. You tear the ACL. What was that like? What went through your mind when you first realized? And obviously everybody knows when they're hurt to that extent. You had to know, man, this must not be good. What was going through your mind at that point?
Honestly, I did not know. When I went down to that Baltimore game, I did not know. I went down to that Baltimore game, and the doc, I remember the docs coming out on the field. I remember X being next to me and being like, "Hey, Hop, you good?" And all the docs are around me, and I'm like, "Oh, my knee feels a little weird." And I get up, and I remember them being like, "Do we need to cart you off?" And I was like, "No, if I feel good enough, I don't want to be on a cart coming off this field." And I was able to walk to the sideline, and how I remember it is it just felt a little loose, felt a little off. But then I remember Dr. Galloway taking me in that tent and doing the little exam and being like, "It feels like your ACL." And in that moment, I was crushed. And for a while, until you actually get the imaging back, I was just hoping. I was like, I know Galloway is a pro of pros. He knows exactly what he's talking about. But I was hoping, I was like, man, let him be wrong this time. I was like, let him have gotten it wrong this time. Let him have misdiagnosed it until the images came back and confirmed that, yeah, I had tore my ACL. And it was tough. It was tough sledding for a couple of days. Just wrapping my head around that. Just the easiest part for me to do was just to completely be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to do this offseason. My offseason is gonna look like this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And you just get so far ahead of yourself mentally, where I'm just thinking about how hard it's gonna be before I've even had the surgery. So it was some tough sledding. Initially, just getting over the shock of it, I guess.
So you get over that phase, then you start into the rehab phase. Were there any dark days? You didn't really have any major setbacks, obviously, but there has to be, a mini setback here and there, or just fighting it mentally. I mean, the mental battle every day has to be as tough, if not tougher than the physical battle, isn't it?
The mental battle, I would say this thing is, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say it was 70% mental. It's like every day just going to war with yourself, saying, yeah, this isn't how I like my body to feel. This isn't what I'm used to feeling. I feel weak. It's hard to move around. I don't like to move around. My leg hurts. It's swollen. It's stiff. I can't do this. I can't run around like I normally do. So the mental struggle, it was tough. And I had to learn how to use those kind of thoughts to kind of push myself and drive myself through the rehab process. But definitely the mental process, it's definitely one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life.
So do you set goals? Do you have like the ultimate goal is to play in the opener? But along the way, do you set goals where you're climbing the ladder of success and you're picking off a goal here, a goal there to keep yourself, juiced up a little bit? What's it like trying to get through that entire process to hit that final goal, that ultimate goal, which you've hit, is starting in that season opener?
The way I kind of approached it was, every goal that I had, I wanted to be the best at it. I wanted to be, when they told me, okay, you can weight bear as soon as you feel comfortable, I'm like, okay, well, I want to be walking around in the next day. That was my mentality. I was like, once I get over the initial nauseousness of the coming out of anesthesia, I was so nauseous. But after all that, I was like, I want to be walking. I want to be moving around. I want to push this thing as much as I can, as smart as I can. That was my goal. So every day, if I had step-ups that day with Nick for the first time, I wanted to be great at step-ups. If it was just leg lifts, I wanted to be the best at leg lifts. I wanted to really just make sure I was capitalizing and optimizing each and every part of the rehab, no matter how tedious it was. And honestly, once I got to the part where I could actually walk and I was comfortable moving around on my own, and it wasn't such a grind just to get up and get going, then it really got a lot better, a lot easier.
You mentioned Nick, and that's Nick Cosgray, the director of rehabilitation. You spent more time with Nick than probably anybody, family member, friend, or whatever, in these few months of rehabilitation. And what is Nick like? What did Nick mean to you during the course of your rehabilitation process?
Nick is a great guy. He's hilarious, super sarcastic, which is my personality. I love it. I love the sarcasm. I love to crack jokes. I love to just kind of rip on each other. And he really meant a lot, because, like I said, when it was the dog days, when it's days when my leg doesn't feel good at all, when it just feels just really crappy, and it's hard to get started. It's hard. You don't really want to do a lot. You don't feel up to it. Just having someone there that you can like joke around with, but it's still informing you of your injury, still giving you good knowledge and really pushing you. I can't even put a value on it. I mean, I owe a lot to him. I'm very appreciative to him.
Before the Miami Dolphin game, the three, Joe Burrow, Trey Hopkins, and Nick Cosgray, were the captains, selected as captains to go out there for the coin toss. And I don't remember seeing like a staff member, whether it's medical or whatever the staff relationship would be with that person, the organization, going out there in that type of situation, preseason, regular season, whatever the case may be. So I'm sure it had to mean a lot to Nick and obviously to you and Joe as well. And both you guys took that first series of snaps, and you can protect the quarterback. I mean, Joe, you can keep Joe out of the fray, but you had to go mix it up. I mean, you're run blocking, you're pass protecting. I mean, you're testing that thing. And were there any reservations whatsoever? Or you just like full speed ahead? Let's roll.
Full speed ahead. Full speed ahead. I mean, Zach had already talked to me and let me know it's going to be a limited number of snaps. And I mean, my thing was, I mean, like I said before, my number was called on. I mean, you got limited snaps, just go play. Just go play. It felt good to go out there and not just be watching anymore and actually put on the uniform and get those butterflies again and feel all that again. Because, I mean, the end of last year, I thought it was taken from me. So it was great to just be able to get back out there and just to think about, okay, 7-8 months ago, I wasn't thinking this was going to be, I didn't think I was going to be able to step back out here. So it felt great to do that. It felt great to walk out there as a captain with Nick and Joe. Because, I mean, like I said, Nick has meant a lot to me, and I'm sure that Joe would tell you the same, that, I mean, he's really, really, really helped us tremendously in this recovery.
So the day-to-day grind, at Paul Brown Stadium and elsewhere, where else did you go through your workout process as you were trying to get ready to come back and go full bore like you're able to right now?
Nowhere. I stayed in Cincinnati throughout the off season. And I was with Nick every day. Every day I was with Nick and Joey, just in the weight room, in the training room, just grinding this thing out, pretty much having a leg day every day for the whole off season. I made it a priority for me, and I mean, it's paid off. I feel good.
You're probably going to be named to the all rehab team when one is chosen in Bengals history, because to tear an ACL in January, in the second half of the game, in January of 2021, and then to come back in August of the same year and play in a preseason game and then start, a couple weeks later, September 12th, is truly remarkable. I mean, it really is, but that was the goal. That was the goal you set from Jump Street, right?
Correct. And I had a great team around me. I'm very appreciative of Dr. Galloway. I mean, it starts with the surgery. He got me right. I didn't have a lot of pain. I didn't have a lot of setbacks. Swelling, I mean, you have swelling, but mine really was minimal. I never had too big of an issue with that. And I mean, everybody in the building put together a great plan for me as I recovered. When I was able to get back on the field and run and actually get into camp, they had a great plan for me. So my knee wasn't overworked. It didn't feel great every day, but it didn't flare up. I didn't have any major setbacks as I came back to actually playing too. So shout out to everybody around me. I mean, it was just a whole team effort, and I appreciate everybody.
Knowing you as the overachiever and the competitive guy that I know you as, I bet you probably had to almost check yourself a little bit. It's like, or did Nick have to check you against yourself and say, okay, big boy, don't take it too far. I mean, let's be smart about this kind of thing. Did you have to face any of those kind of issues during the process?
Oh, for sure. Especially when, like I said, when I could finally walk, then that's when I got to do a little bit more things in the weight room. That's when I started working with Joey and Nick. And so when I got in there, especially the initial weeks, it was like, okay, we know this feels good. It feels easy. It feels light. It's supposed to. You don't want to immediately just go to pushing lunges and step ups and all those kinds of things with super heavy weight. Initially, Nick had to remind me constantly, hey, I know you feel great, but and it looks great on the outside, but stuff on the inside is still healing. And that's kind of what you have to play with, is that timing. And you have to remember, though it looks okay on the outside, stuff on the inside is still healing, especially month 3 and 4, when you start to kind of feel like, okay, I got this thing going.
So during the preseason game, the Sunday night game against the Miami Dolphins, you obviously showed the organization that you were ready to go. And Trey Hill, the rookie center, showed the organization that he's capable to back you up if necessary, even though he has a little bit of little bit of a hip flexor issue. It doesn't seem to be serious. Obviously, if they made the decision to trade Billy Price to the New York Giants for B.J. Hill, the interior defensive lineman, they had to feel good about your performance and Trey Hill's performance, and that the injury isn't that severe. So, I mean, kudos and congratulations to you guys. And talk a little bit about Trey Hill. I guess he obviously stepped up. He looks like a pretty fluid football player. I guess he stepped up and showed people that he can play center, guard, can have some position versatility and help the football team.
Yeah, definitely. Trey has had a tremendous camp. I mean, he's done everything the right way. He's done what Pollock has asked of him, what Zach has asked of him, and he's put it on tape. I mean, it's one thing to do great in practice, but I mean, you watch his preseason. I've watched him throughout this preseason, and he has done great things. He's a tremendously explosive and physical player, which, I mean, always helps you. I mean, his physicality, I mean, something can't be coached. He's a finisher. He plays hard, and he's going to do great things for the Bengals.
You're the only offensive lineman that was here the first time when Frank Pollock was here. Billy Price was the other, and he's now a New York Giant. So you're capable of giving opinions and evaluations and that sort of thing on Frank Pollock more than anybody. How much has he meant to this offensive line in this training camp this year?
Frank has meant a lot. I mean, just like the first time he came, you can feel the change in not just the O-line room, but the whole building. Really, there's an urgency that you can't emulate. It's Frank's urgency, and he really forces guys to evaluate your own work ethic and see are you really optimizing your time and your potential? Are you really getting the most out of yourself and what you have to provide to the team? And he really makes you look at yourself and look at that man in the mirror just by the way you work. I mean, there's days that he just grinds you, and then you hate it at first. You hate it the first couple of days of camp, and then you look up like we are now at the end of the camp. You're like, this is the only way to work. What have I been doing before? And that is truly what it does. He just transforms your mindset, and that's contagious on the offensive line. It's contagious on the team, and I'm extremely happy to have him back.
Let's talk about some of the members of the offensive line that are new, like Riley Reef. Riley Reef, a veteran player, double-digit years in the National Football League, going into that 10th year. So he's been around. He knows what it's supposed to look like to be successful. What kind of an impact has he had on the O-line room?
Riley is a tremendous leader. I mean, the guy's, like you said, he's in double-digit years in the NFL, flying around, still one of the first guys in every spot on the field. He is incredibly just willing to work, not for himself, but for everybody else. I mean, we have to literally pry the bags out of his hands sometimes because he doesn't want anybody else to be on scout team, doesn't want anybody else to give the look, because he's just that kind of guy that he wants to service his team. He wants to help the team, and to be somebody who has the amount of years and experience like he does, I mean, you don't see that all the time, and he's a great credit to have.
So Quentin Spain, Xavier Suafilo, yourself, veteran guys as well. The offensive line room has a nice mix, and we'll talk about the veteran guys here first. So give me your take on the other teammates that we just talked about here.
Q and X, my guys. I love to have him near me. Q, one of the most hilarious people I know, but also just a great guy to have on the field next to you. I mean, he's a great mix of calm and also just a fiery guy. Another super physical, just fiery guy. I love to have him next to me. And X is my guy. I can't thank X enough for the way that he checked on me throughout the time when I was going through my ACL. He was one of the guys. He wasn't here physically in Cincinnati, but he checked on me constantly, made sure I was right, made sure my mind was on straight. And I'm incredibly thankful to him as well. And I'm excited to play next to these guys again. I mean, I love playing next to those two.
So I saw X between the first and second quarter. He went out in the field and he had some things he wanted to discuss with Jackson Carman, things that he saw taking place, whatever. And it was good to see that. Good to see the vet, helping the young guy. And that seems to be his MO. He's all about the team, isn't he?
Yes, the least selfish person I would say that I know. He is willing to give his all and his last for the team and to the team, and that's the kind of people you need. That's the kind of people you want around you, and I'm glad that he's here.
Jonah Williams put on some good weight that's going to help him anchor, I think, a little bit in the offseason. What kind of a training camp did Jonah have?
Jonah had a great training camp. Like you said, he put on some weight. He looks strong, but still looks just as athletic as he did when he first came in, which made everybody so excited. I mean, he can move, but now that extra weight helps him anchor on that edge when he gets those power rushes. And he's really, really, really soaked up all the things that Pollock has been teaching us with our hands, with our feet, things like that. And he has really invested his time into being just a great technician over this camp.
We mentioned, talked about Trey Hill and the job that he did in the camp that he had. Jackson Carman made a transition from tackle to guard. That's a lot of times not the easiest thing in the world. Every single day, the light seems to be going on and getting brighter and brighter for him. And then Deontay Smith, another young player that has made an impression during the course of training camp. You have a nice mix of some veteran linemen and then some young guys that you guys can mentor and tutor and bring along a little bit. Tell us a little bit about some of these young guys.
So we know, Deontay's had an incredible camp. I mean, he has really came out and he has really shown what he can do from moving from tackle to guard and just run with everything in stride. He's done tremendously well in this camp and in the preseason games. I'm very happy for him and for the position he's put himself in. And Jackson, like you said, coming in, he had a lot of pressure on him being a high pick guy. And I mean, the transition from the NFL to the NFL from college is never super easy. And I know there were some days that he was just going through it, but my guy really pulled it out, and he has improved every day. It is undeniable the amount of improvement he has shown, and he's another guy who just being with Pollock has really helped his game. He's sharpening his sword, he's sharpening his techniques, and it's only helping him become a better player. And I'm super excited for the guy.
And then a couple of young tackles that are battling for that third tackle, that swing tackle opportunity. Fred Johnson and Isaiah Prince. Has Frank really helped them from a technique standpoint and execution standpoint as well?
Of course. Isaiah, a guy that we missed last year, he wasn't with us last year, so we missed him. Coming back, he looks great. He's another guy that both of them have bought into what Frank is teaching us, and it's helped all of us. It really has helped all of us. Fred, we know him as the giant that he is, and Pollock's helping him play within that, use his length to his advantage, but also learn how to get in the trenches and be low in the run game and stuff like that. He's really helped improve all of our games, and those two are no exception.
One thing that numbers, you can do a lot of things with numbers. Obviously, you can support arguments and discredit arguments with numbers and the whole 9 yards. But one thing that was noticeable to me was the pass protection was solid all training camp, and 1 sack given up in 3 preseason games. And there were extenuating circumstances. Trey snapped the ball a count early and guys are frozen and defensive linemen are blowing by him. Well, there's nothing you can do about that. So it's really a no opportunity situation in that kind of when that kind of a mistake is made. But other than that, it was clean as a whistle in terms of quarterback sacks. There were, some pressures. You're never going to be perfect, but I thought that guys really, when you consider that Frank was moving people around too. I mean, both of the tackles that we just talked about, Isaiah and Fred, they were right and left tackle and flip-flopping back and forth. The young guys were playing right and left guard. Trey Hill took some snaps at guard. I mean, Frank is a big believer in position versatility. And with all that going on, still, as a unit, performed really well and only gave up 1 quarterback sack. That says something to me.
For sure. I mean, like you said, Frank is huge on position flexibility. I mean, he's the first coach to put me at center last time he was here. But the thing is, he has his coaching points. Yeah, there's different sets for tackles than there are for centers and there are for guards, but we learn all of them. Frank is an incredible teacher, and he makes sure when he gets one coaching point to one guy, everybody has it. So that when you do get in that situation and you do have to move a spot, you know the coaching point. You might not have physically done it, but you know the coaching point. You know it is ingrained in your head. You know exactly what that set's going to be. And a lot of the stuff does mirror each other. A lot of it is exactly the same, especially when it comes from center to guard. But even as it goes to tackle, we all know the same things. We all work similar drills, if not the same drills, with him each and every day. So that technique is ingrained in your mind. It is branded in your brain and seared in your soul, as Frank likes to say. And so when you get in those situations, it just comes down to battling. You know the technique, you know the coaching points, and you're just there battling. And we've got some guys in the room that are willing to do that and are selfish enough to do that. And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have full confidence that if a catastrophe happened, you had to go play tackle. I know you could do it. Your feet, your hands, your long arms, you could play tackle and not embarrass yourself or the organization out there by any stretch of the imagination because of your attention to detail and what Frank's coaching and everything. And Frank's, as we talked about a few times, mastering the mundane. I mean, it's repetition. And when that's the case, I mean, it's muscle memory. You know, it just, you don't even really have to think about it. You know exactly what you're supposed to do, when to do it, and how to do it, right?
Exactly. That's all it is. So it's literally just the same thing over and over to the point where, and this is what I love, you want to do it so much and so well to the point where it feels like it's harder to do it wrong. And that's where you hope to get. And that's what Frank is training. That's what he's drilling. And that's what we're buying into.
So if you had to pick the importance, the most important thing that Frank talks about all the time on a daily basis from a technique standpoint or whatever it may be, what is a primary message that he gives you guys over and over and over again every single day?
Mental toughness, 100%. And I think even when he doesn't talk about it, that is what Frank develops and what he demands just in his presence. You've been out there at practice. It is a grind. It is it's constantly moving. There's no downtime. There are days where you just hate it in the sweltering heat of camp when you are just dog tired. And that's what it is. That is what the game is as an offensive lineman. You are working throughout the hardest stuff. There's no plays off. There's no down. There's no relaxation. There's no time to find a soft place to lay down. It is all about the grind, and you have to be mentally tough enough to handle it when you feel great, when you feel bad, when you're up, when you're down. And Frank really gets that out of guys, and I appreciate him for it.
Well, I'll tell you what, nobody has shown more mental toughness than you have from the very first day that you were affiliated with the organization to what you've gone through with the rehab of your ACL and starting September 12th against the Minnesota Vikings. Mental toughness is, you look up the phrase mental toughness, Trey Hopkins picture's right next to that bad boy for a definition. There's no doubt about it. And I congratulations on the commitment you've made to yourself and to the organization to get yourself back physically to where you are and achieving your goals, going out there against the Minnesota Vikings and Mike Zimmer's defenses and orchestrating the whole thing. Because that's the other thing that people have to understand. You've got enormous football IQ, enormous IQ anyway. You're a smart guy. But I know the coaching staff and your teammates have the utmost confidence in you orchestrating and directing what's going on up front with that offensive line, Trey. It's a big deal, and you're as good as anybody at it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And once again, congratulations on all you've done and all your future successes as well. Hopefully it's a great year for the Cincinnati Bengals, Trey Hopkins, and well-deserved, my man, well-deserved.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you visiting. Have a
great
one.
You too.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.